Hey there, my name is Dagny, and in today's video I want to talk about bullet journaling. It's a new year and you may be curious about how exactly to start doing bullet journaling, and so I really hope to show you a very simple and streamlined way that you can keep your life organized. It's worked really well for me and I've developed it over the last 3 years of bullet journaling. The first thing that you'll need is a notebook, and so I really like the Leuchtturm 1917 notebook. I used both versions, the gridded version and the dotted version. That just means that the paper guidelines are either a grid or a dot. For some reason the math doesn't quite translate, like there's less dots than there are gridded boxes, and so when I tried to go from my gridded system of my first notebook to the dotted system, something didn't work out in the math that I had worked out in the first notebook, and I really do prefer the number of grids that are in the gridded notebook, so I do recommend getting the gridded one versus the dotted, but it is up to your preference. When I first started, it was in the midst of bullet journaling just getting popular, and so I did some really pretty layouts like this, but ever since then I got very simple and I really streamlined the way that I use my notebook, and so now I just use it to track my daily appointments, and so where I need to be and when for work, for whatever appointment I need to get to. I really don't bog down my bullet journal with other things like lists. And so a big part of the bullet journal is that you can do whatever you want with it, and so it can be a lot of fun, and it does allow for a lot of creative leeway. But if I need to make a list that's not exactly a to-do list or a task, I tend not to put it into my bullet journal. I just put it usually on my phone, but you can also make a list on your computer. In this video I'll show you exactly how I do make my streamlined version of a bullet journal. It's very simple. I just use a pencil and my notebook. I keep it with me wherever I go, and I really do hope that this video helps you stay a little more organized in this new year.
I use a Leuchtturm 1917 gridded notebook, a black wing pencil. I like to use a clear straight edge to see where I'm writing, and I need an eraser as well. The first page of every month is just the month name written out in script. I usually don't get too much more fancy than just writing out the month. Next, I make a monthly overview. Sometimes I don't end up using this page at all, but I like to have it there just in case I need to see when I'm traveling or if there are any major events. I can flip to this page and see easily within the month where everything is in relation to each other. Now what I'm doing is making my January habit tracker. I mark 3 boxes down and 7 boxes in from the upper left-hand corner to make 2 rows, 15 to 16 days each, to track all of the month. And I take 2 boxes for each day, so I can either add a number or add a check mark depending on the activity I want to track. This month I will track my weight, how much I spend on food, how much I spend for my business, how much I'm spending going out to do tango, how much I spend on Ubers, any beauty and clothing items. Anything that doesn't fit into these categories goes into other, and money coming in from cooking, from teaching, anything that I make for my brand Comparsita, and if I did yoga that day or not. I still have 2 blank rows, just 1 actually, in case I want to add something later this month. At the top, I'm writing January habit tracker. This month it was a little tricky because I had a tripod right in front of my right wrist, and so I was having a little difficulties getting everything lined up, but I don't really care too much if it's exactly pinpoint neat. I just really want to get the information that I need onto my paper. I tend to weigh myself every morning after I wake up. This is not necessarily a habit that I recommend to everyone. I may do several hours of hot yoga and dance for hours a day, and so this is a really quick snapshot whether or not I want to increase my calories that day. I am also a stress non-eater, so looking at trends of my weight over time may also reveal if there was a particularly stressful event happening. Sometimes I'll forget, and if I'm traveling, I definitely don't check in, but I tend to like to do it if I can, but it's nothing that I put pressure on myself to do, and I have no goal for my weight. I lump groceries and eating out into the food category. I used to record how much I spent on tea and coffee out when I was in college, but I stopped. If you're a heavy coffee drinker, it might be interesting to see how much you're spending each month on your cup of coffee out. I also record how much I spend on business expenses, how much I spend on tango, so when I go out for a social tango event, I have to spend money on the entrance fee. I also record how much I spend on Ubers, although I try not to use them as much as possible. I will need to use an occasional Uber, and I like to know how much I spend on them per month. I also made beauty and clothing a category, and if the purchase does not fall under any of these categories, I write it in the other section. I also record how much money I have coming in, and those categories include money I make from cooking, money I make from teaching tango, as well as money coming from my business Comparsita. I also record if I did yoga and I couldn't finish filling in the second row because my hand was fitting too awkwardly next to the tripod. I have found that an hourly weekly overview works best for my lifestyle to record all of the activities that I'm doing since my schedule varies from day to day. Here I'm just writing the days of the week in Spanish, Russian, and Turkish to get in a little practice. And that's all I've been doing. It's very simple and it's been working really well for me for at least a year and a half. I work freelance and my hours are changing constantly, so it's very important for me to be able to see where I am and when. Leave any questions or comments you have below. See you soon!